Hey y'all, welcome to Talks with Tanya. And
Sometimes Shakaya.
it's been a minute. We have really missed doing this. It's been a minute because life has been lifing. And let me tell you, sometimes you can be thrown a curveball that will knock you off your feet. But most of the time, those things happen when you are trying to do what's right. You know what I'm saying? When you're trying to be a light in a dark world or you're trying to spread positivity, then stuff will come because the enemy gets pissed off and he's like, oh no, can't let you shine bright. I got to put
Not
out your
Tanya
light.
doing good, not her on the right
Right. When
path.
you're trying to redirect and not be who you used to be or handle situations like you once did, then some things will come your way. However, the great thing about that is those things never catch God by surprise. And you have to rest in that knowing that, okay, well, God, if you knew about it and it didn't shake you, then I can't let this thing shake me. Now, you won't, I'm not going to say you're not going to cry or you're not going to be upset or any of those emotions. We are humans, we have emotions, but just understand that distractions are real. You know what I'm saying? Like, this last thing we went through with Jadori and her health, we were not expecting it. When your child goes from playing around one day to the next day, they're saying your child needs a whole new liver. And you're like, where did this come from? And your life is kind of rocked and everything that's in it has to kind of step to the side. Then, you find yourself sometimes asking questions, sometimes, being a little sad, but then you have to regroup and refocus and say, okay, let's go. What's the game plan?
Right.
How are we going to handle this? And you can't let that stop you from being a light, even though a dark situation has come your way. So even with people, I want to say this, like distractions are going to come. You've been trying to work on yourself. You've been trying to heal. You've been trying to deal with childhood trauma, which is a whole beast in itself. And then, you've been motivating people. People have been seeing you shine bright. The enemy's going to get mad about that. And he's going to be like, well, if I can't stop her, let me silence her.
Right.
If I can't stop him, let me bring something that's going to catch them off guard, take their breath, knock them off their feet, to shut them up and sit them down.
Yeah.
What do
I
you think
think
about
you
that?
should go into how at first you didn't really want to tell what was going on with Dory, like how the enemy almost did silence you, and then I think you should touch on that because
Because
that was
that's
good.
true. Because in the beginning, I was like, let me just go in my little cubby hole and let me just hide out. And I don't want to say anything. I don't want to motivate anybody because I'm going through something. Life is not good right now in the natural. So I wanted to just be quiet. And I wanted to just be like, I don't want to be seen right now. I just want to go through this, be there for my baby. But then I feel like the Lord was telling me, like, no. Like, if you already believe that she's okay, then you need to act accordingly.
Right.
Like, okay, where's your faith? And the crazy thing is, our last message was about faith.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of times when we talk, but then you're going to get tested on
Yeah, I
it.
was just gonna say that God will always come back to test you because you'll think like, oh, I'm telling everybody else like this is so easy, you should be able to do it. And He's gonna be like, okay, well if it's so easy, then you do
Right.
it. Let me see you do it.
And sometimes, like the faith test, they get stronger on each dimension. The higher you start to go, the rockier sometimes
Yeah.
those tests can get. Like, it's like taking like a law entrance exam or something. Like
Right.
you went from like sight words and ABCs to
Yeah.
like now we trying to get in the midst. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
you like the degrees of the faith test sometimes can be a little challenging as you begin to move up and you begin to work on things. But you have to always know that's like in a
Yeah.
classroom. The teacher is preparing you the whole year for the tests that are going to be there. And sometimes you get pop quiz. And those pop quiz are like, you like come into the classroom, you put your books down.
Right.
And it's like, she's like, okay, put your books and pencils, you put your stuff
Right.
away. We're going to have a pop quiz. And you're like, oh, shoot.
Right. But at the end of the day, that test is to get you to the next level. So the faith I have
Right.
on this level is not going to be the faith that I need to get to the next level.
Right.
So it has to be tested.
It has to be tested. And then how do you know what you know if you never tested on it? Because you
Right.
can always talk about it. Well, yeah, I'm smart and I know how to do this. And yeah, this class is easy until a test comes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And not always a plan test. Those plan tests, you can kind of like, okay, well, a test is coming on Friday. I'm going to prepare. I'm going to cram. I'm going to study. I'm going to have, midnight sessions where I'm up all night studying. But when a pop quiz comes, it's like, Oh,
Right.
shoot.
It's easy to pass the test that you knew was coming. It's the test that catch you by surprise when you're like, oh, wait. Like, now I got to dig
Right.
back in my memory. What is everything that I have learned? What is every
Right.
lesson that I've learned thus far that is going to apply for me to get to this test, you know?
And have you been paying attention? Because if you've
Doubt
been
it.
paying attention, then you really don't have anything to worry about.
And most of the time we not.
And most of the time we're not. We're just
Yeah.
going through life, breezing through and thinking everything's okay. But God is constantly teaching us life lessons and little wisdom nuggets. And He's preparing you as you get there. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So your last test really is preparation for the next test.
Right.
And the test before that was preparation for the test that was before that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like He's giving you measures to it. He doesn't just pile it on all at once. And I have to always believe that if you are facing something, you have what's, inside of you to pass that test.
Right.
But it's according to you whether you use it. It's like if you have a tool belt and something comes up that needs to be fixed, and you never take out the tools in the tool belt and to use them. And it's like, okay, or you taking out the wrong tools.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're trying to take out a butter knife to screw something in. He's like, well, you have a whole screwdriver right here.
Right.
Like you have to dig deep in it. That's also that time when you have to say, okay, God, I don't understand this. This has caught me by surprise. How do I handle this? That's where wisdom comes in. And I think that, how the Bible, it talks about if any of you lack wisdom, ask for it. Because we need wisdom to handle life situations. He didn't promise us that everything was going to go the way you plan. I don't care. You can plan out your life to the T. You can plan that, okay, I'm going to graduate high school. I'm going to make straight A's. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get married at this age. I'm going to have, you can have your whole life planned out for you the way you think it should go.
Right.
But how do you plan for those things that weren't planned? How do you plan for those things that come along the way to distract you?
Right.
Because really, when you think about it, it's only a distraction to get you all focused. And you have to understand and let it work for your good. Sometimes it's good that you were afflicted. Sometimes it's good when you go through a situation because it builds up stamina. It builds up your faith muscles. It builds up your dependency on God to let you know that you can't do it by yourself. Because a lot of times we think we give credit to everybody that shouldn't be getting credit. You know what I'm saying? We'll give credit to our job, or we'll give credit to ourselves, or we'll give credit to this person, but we never really give credit where credit is due. And that's God, because if He knows all and He sees all, then surely He can direct you when a storm comes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think about when you like on in a plane or a cruise ship or somewhere, and they foresee a storm is coming. They're going to redirect. And it might inconvenience you because you're like, well, we were supposed to be going to Mexico, but now we got to detour and go to wherever else. And you're mad about that because you had all these plans and these outfits picked out for Mexico, and you had, your little whatever you were going to do, your hats and whatever you were going to do, and you got to get detoured, and you might have to have an extra day at sea now but they're trying to protect you for your safety. But sometimes what we'll do is we'll be like, I'd rather they should just went through the storm. They could have made it. And that's what we do in life sometimes. We're like, well, I'm just going to go through it. And God is like, redirect, detour.
The redirection is your protection.
Yeah, it's your protection. And you got to think about, well, God, what were you protecting me from in this situation?
I'd rather not know what He was protecting me from than for me to know. And I'm like, dang, I wish He would have protected me. Like,
Right.
But we're so stubborn sometimes that we just want to say, oh, we want to take the hard way out,
Right. We want to go our own way.
Yeah, we shouldn't do that.
Yeah. And we're like listening to our GPS. I remember this time we were going, I think we were going to Atlanta or somewhere. And it was telling us to go a way that we normally wouldn't go. But because we're so stubborn, we're like, that ain't the way we're supposed to go. We're just going to keep going the way
that's not the way we're familiar.
Yes, we're going with what we're familiar with. This is how I get through everything. Or this is how I do everything. And so being hard-headed, we kept on going and ran slap into traffic. You know what I'm saying? And then now you're delayed for extra 30 minutes, an hour, when God was like, I wanted you to go through this service road. I wanted you to go to this back road because I
actually had something for you on that route for you being obedient. But now you done missed it out, and now you in traffic. So it's why did you even do that?
It's that leaning to your own understanding. It says, lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him so He will direct your path. Not you direct your path or the way that seems right to you. Like, just follow the GPS. Follow when God is saying, go left, go right. turn this way. Because even in that situation with Jadori, I still had to be like, okay, well, I'm in this thing, but God, I still need your guidance on how to handle this. What questions am I supposed to ask? What direction am I supposed to take? You know, even what you come into agreement with, because just because a bad day happened or something happened doesn't mean you have to come into agreement with, oh my God, things are just not going to work out. Because then, you know, power of life and death is in your tongue. You're speaking those things, like speak opposite of what's going on. Like, this is the thing, speak the solution, not the problem. We are so focused on the problems that we don't speak the solution. God sees the end of the thing. He already sees it whole and complete. But we're speaking what we're going through at the time. Like, oh, they're saying this, and oh, she needs, like, no, the end of the thing is, I don't want her to have a liver transplant. I want her liver to be healthy and whole. So that's what I need to speak.
If we want that, then why are we saying, oh God, well, she might have to, should not even be in our vocabulary. She's not going to have a liver, period. That's the end of it. Case closed. And we don't need to talk to anybody who's thinking the opposite. And I think that is one of the things that we have to be mindful of when we are on a positive journey is, who are you attaching yourself to? Because are these people, are they rooting for you? Are they saying what you want to see? Are they speaking positive with you? Or are they just filling your head with doubt and negative seeds, you know, because those idle words where you tell them something and they're like, well, how are you going to do that? That's going to be hard. And you're like, well, you know what? That is going to be hard. You're right. You came into agreement with that.
Hardness. Like,
and you don't even believe that in your heart. So why would you say that out of your mouth?
So sometimes it's best to shut up. You cannot talk to everybody when you're going through something. Just period. Even if you're not going through
the worst people to talk to?
Who's that?
And I hate to say it, but it's the people that are like, that's not realistic. That's so unrealistic. Like, or you try to correct them and they're like, I'm just thinking realistic. What is realistic to God? I cannot stand that. That is the worst thing you could say.
It makes you want to choke them.
Yes. And it's like, now I got to argue with you every time I have a conversation because you're so realistic. Like, we don't serve a realistic God. So why would you even think that?
Because realistically, you think about, he created a whole world. I mean, he doesn't operate in
nothing about him is normal. Nothing about him is realistic.
Right. And if you believe him to do the impossible, so I'm saying, well, realistically, this is what it is. So that puts like handcuffs on God. It's saying, God, you can't do it because this seems impossible for me to do. Or it doesn't look like, it doesn't line up with how it should work out. And it's like, and God's sitting back like, oh, okay. You know it all, Mr. Know It All.
And I can't go against your will since you said it out of your mouth. Now I can't do what I was going to do because you won't let me.
Exactly. So we got to stop holding God hostage when he wants to do a miracle. And I still believe God to be a miracle working God. Like, he can do the impossible. That's how I believe. And then people will get mad at you for the way that you believe.
Right.
You can believe in whoever you want to believe in. That is your prerogative. You can do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But don't get mad at me because I choose to believe the way I believe. If it works for you, then let it work for you. If this works for me, then let that work for me. But people will get like pissed off because like, oh, you believe in this and that, you know, all of this other stuff. And I'm like, I'm not arguing with you. I don't have time for that. I'm not wasting my breath. If that's how you believe, baby, go for it. Go for what you know.
Fun. Do a flip.
But this is what works for me, and this is what works for me. And not because somebody told me, because I've seen it work firsthand.
Yeah, that's the difference. When you've seen it work firsthand, there's nothing nobody can tell you. Yeah. And you'll get irritated when they try to tell you. Because how are you going to tell me what I've seen?
Right.
What I've experienced firsthand. So maybe you just don't know God like I do. And that's really sad.
Or you're basing it on how somebody else said they were whatever, but belief system, and they didn't operate totally in it. Just because they say they believe that way does not mean that they're operating in the principles of it. You can say you're whatever religion, doesn't mean you're following it to a T. That's on them, and that's between them and whoever they believe in.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm not looking for your approval, and at the end of the day, you can't judge me. But whatever higher power you believe in, that's who I'm accountable to, not you.
Yeah.
So if you believe different, then if that works for you, that's between you and your belief system. But this is how I believe. This is what works for me.
Yeah.
I don't need you to try to convince me otherwise. I'm not really asking your opinion about it.
Right.
It's not like a little conference call that we're having and we're trying to figure out.
With you. There's no winner
like this works for me, and like let's keep it moving. But I still love you. Like, I don't have any ill will towards you because you believe something that I don't. We can disagree to disagree and keep it pushing. You know? So yeah, distractions will come when you're trying to work on you. You ever think about, let's say you're trying to lose weight or something, and the moment you say that, then everybody wants to come with donuts and cookies.
They want to take you out to eat.
They want to take you out there. You like, you ain't never asked me to go out to eat. A matter of fact, I'm usually paying for you to go somewhere.
Exactly.
But today,
I'm going to treat you.
You want to feed me today.
Yeah.
Like, really? Like,
How
you gotta
ironic is
understand, like, and you got to have willpower. It's about self-control. Like, I want us to learn how to have self-control in this journey that we call life, because that's one of the biggest superpowers you can have is self-control. To say, okay, yes, does my flesh want to eat these donuts? But should I? Because I need to look at my end goal.
Right.
Like, I lost about 100 pounds recently, and it's been since 2022. So where it may seem quick to somebody else, it's been a journey. It's been some highs, it's been some lows, it's been some days that I did not want to get up and exercise. There's been some days I did not want to eat right, and there have been some days that I didn't. But I had to keep, if I had to start over, if I have to keep doing it, and I couldn't even tell the journey to everybody. Sometimes they would see me and they're like, oh, you lost some weight. I'm like,
right.
oh, okay. But you can't even tell it to everybody because they'll distract you, because sometimes people get mad because they want to have willpower or self-control in an area, and because they don't, they'll want to distract you, or they'll want to criticize you, or they'll say stuff like, girl, you better not get no smaller. You gonna look like a crackhead, or you gonna look like this, that, and the other. But I'm like, well, nobody was telling me I was looking like an elephant when I was 320 something. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody was saying anything to me when I was on a path of destruction. You get that?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes when you're on the path of destruction and you're just destroying, you out here partying, overspending, popping every kind of pill you could imagine.
Right.
Screwing out of both. You're doing all type of reckless behavior. Nobody is stopping you. They're like, go. Everybody is applauding you and then talking about you behind your back.
Right.
Because I was telling Dexter this the other day, I was like, baby, I'm so sorry if I let myself go, because this is not the person. You didn't marry a 300-pound woman. No, I mean, I was a beautiful 300-pound woman, though. Ask my husband.
Okay, moving on.
But I'm saying, like, I'm like, this is not who you met. But I let depression and not putting my health as a priority, I let all that stuff sit in. But nobody was, saying anything when you're on that path of destruction. Nobody's saying, hey, girl, you are getting pretty big. Like, unless you ask Jadori, because I did say, Dory would tell you the truth, because I ask her, I said, why didn't y'all tell me I had got so big? And she said, well, Mama, I tried to tell you, but you just didn't listen. And I wanted to just kind of like wring her neck, but I was like, well,
she did.
I mean,
you don't always want to hear the truth.
You don't want to hear the truth. You're not
willing, and you're not in the right mindset to accept the truth until you've really made up, like, okay, now I want to change,
Exactly. You don't want to always hear it, but I had to apologize, because I was like, this is not who you married, this person. You know what I'm saying? But thank you for sticking with me and loving me through it and helping me and encouraging me. Like, I could, be on the journey with him, because he would be like, okay, Tanya, good job for exercising, good job for eating right, pushing me towards doing what I need to do. But you'll have some people that are just like, you looking sick, or you looking this and you looking that. And it's like, I was obese. My heart was not doing. I had type 2 diabetes. All of this stuff was going on. I was like, I was just breaking down. But I had to embrace, like, you got to start somewhere, because sometimes of course I wanted to probably lose the weight overnight and do something reckless and just get it off. But it was a process. And as in my book, I talk about how God told me one day, when you lose the weight, you'll lose the weight. And he was like, okay, all of those things that you've been carrying, and all of those things from your childhood and your past, sometimes we're just carrying the weight and the pressures of what we once went through and what we once survived. And we haven't properly, you think about when people are overindulging in drugs and doing certain things, a lot of times they're trying to drown out their past. They're trying to silence the voices that are in their heads. They're trying to not really deal with the issues that are at hand. They had a rough childhood. So now they're spending their whole life trying to overcompensate and buy all this stuff, because you want to impress people, to show them that, hey, I'm where I need to be. Sometimes you just have to get to yourself, get in a corner somewhere, and just work on you.
Yeah.
And that doesn't need to be an announcement made to everybody, because everybody is not going to co-sign with you. They're not going to celebrate when you do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
they really benefit off the unhealthy version of you. They benefit off the one that's reckless and makes bad decisions.
And that doesn't have any boundaries.
It doesn't have
because
any
they want
boundaries,
to use you. And so they can't no more. And then they're going to be done with you. So you might as well work on yourself. Tell them to kick rocks.
Because the people around you, if they just want you to keep moving the goalpost on your boundaries.
To benefit them. It's never going to be to benefit you at the end of the day. It's always going to be to benefit them.
It's never for your good. So you got to start taking in consideration and working on you. And when you do, the distractions will come.
And people are going to get mad too.
They'll get mad.
Let them.
Of course. Let them. Yeah. Let them be mad. They'll say you acting funny. You think you this, that. Well, no, you must think I'm that. You know what I'm saying?
That's projection. No, you think that I'm better than you. Because I never said that. Because if you knew my heart, you would know that I never even think that way. So why would you? Because if the shoes were on the other foot, I would be celebrating you. But you don't even know what that looks like. Yeah.
And that hurts sometimes when you're like the person that celebrates everybody and encourages everybody and always trying to be positive. Like one of my things is like even at a place when I didn't feel like I had it all together, my heart has always been for people, not wanting people to hurt and not, wanting people the best in people. I've never had a malicious heart like, I want to get you back and I want you to suffer. I just really want to see the best in people, but it hurts. Like I was saying, it hurts because sometimes people don't always think that way towards you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you'll try to go out of your way to try to be the friend or try to be the whoever to people because you try to feel how you would feel in that situation. But what I've had to learn in life is that that's not how the world works. And that's so disappointing.
It really is. It hurts my heart to have to be mean to people, or not even mean, or just to have to cut people off because I feel like you can't reciprocate the energy that I'm giving you, because I still love you at the end of the day. But it's really sad and it's really hard because I feel like we have to cut a lot of people off this year just when we realize your self-worth and you realize that, maybe I'm overextending myself to you and I'm not getting nothing back in return. Right. So why should I continue to do this? The Lord didn't tell us to be stupid like that. He told us to love our neighbor, but he don't tell us to be a fool. Right.
It's setting those boundaries, and setting those boundaries, I think somebody needs to say that it might mean you got to cut off a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you have to do that. It's not going to always feel good because sometimes you've been familiar with people for years and but you've just been bonding because of things you went through or just tolerating them, or you always find yourself showing up for them, but then they never kind of show up for you. And once your eyes are open, you really need to just sit in it for a moment, accept how you feel about it, because it might take you on a little journey and you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe this person is like that. And that's not mean like, well, I'm just going to start treating them bad because now you're awoke and you're like, oh my God.
Because now you're no better than them. You didn't turn into them. You just act accordingly. You just become aware and you remove yourself. You stop overextending yourself. You do what is appropriate and what is necessary, but you don't go above and beyond.
Right. Because you'll find when you're working on yourself, you don't get as many invitations anymore.
Oh, no.
People don't come around as much because they think, I don't know if they're
really
mad.
Sad.
Yeah, I don't know if they're mad because you're positive or you choose to be positive.
I think it's they think that you think that they're you're better than them. So they're like, I don't want to be around her and I don't want her to see my insecurities and I don't want her to see my brokenness because she's at another level and she couldn't relate. Does that make sense?
Right, it does make sense. Or they think you're going to be judging them.
Yeah, they think you're going to be judgmental. Because I'm not where you are, so you're going to be judging me.
But you want to know,
like that.
Yes, it's like
Christ is not. God is not like that.
What if God treated us like that? Like He loves us. Everything He knows about us, He still loves us. You know what I'm saying? And you have to extend grace to people. Now, don't be a fool. Like if I'm trying to extend grace to you and you keep on doing stuff, it's like now.
All right, that's enough. Enough is enough because everybody got their breaking
point.
Quit it. Yeah, knock it off.
Like, I'm not going to keep doing it. And it's okay. Like, it can be lonely sometimes when you work on you because, like I said, you lose people, you lose things along the way. But in the end, it'll be so worth it.
Yeah.
It's so worth it when you can look back and say, I'm not who I used to be. Because people will really put you in that box of who they think you are or who you used to be. Or they still remember Jakaya from high school. Or they still remember Tanya
so hard when people
from high school. And you're like, that girl was so lost and misunderstood and didn't know
I don't even recognize her.
I don't even know who she is. How do you remember her? Because I don't remember her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's some things you probably did growing up along the way and you were like, man, if I could take that back. But it did shape who you are. But I'm like, people, because they don't really have access into your life now, they have this idea of who they think you are. Mm-hmm. Oh, she used to do this and she used to do that. And she used to be an airhead, or she used to be promiscuous, or whatever they want to call what that you used to be. And they still judge you on that, not giving you the grace that you have evolved and you've grown up and you've experienced life that has shaped you to be who you are now. And they look at you like, well, that's not who she, like, you don't even know me. Right. Because I didn't know me.
What if God judged you off the person you used to be?
Right.
And that's it. He only held you to the person you used to be. It would be no point in even trying anymore.
Right. You might as well just you can't stay that anyways. Way. Right. Exactly. So you have to tell people, listen, I'm not where you left me. Mm-hmm. I'm not the last memory you had of me. What you even probably knew about me a year ago is not even who I am today, because you've been processed.
What you know about me 30 seconds ago might not even be the same. We are forever evolving and changing. I'm not stuck in this box, and you can't put me in that box.
Right. And you have permission to change. You have permission to say, you know what? I don't want to be that person anymore. If you used to be the turn up girl and used to be the whatever, and today you decide, I don't like that anymore.
Right. You could wake up tomorrow and just say, I don't want to do nothing I used to do. I'm about to reinvent myself.
Right.
And that's the grace that the Lord gives us, thank God, because it's not.
And it doesn't mean you're being fake or phony, because some people are like, she's dead. Like, no, she made up in her mind. She made a decision, because change is all about decision.
Better is always an option. You know what I'm saying?
Better is always an option. It's like if you mismanage money and you have just been over it, you can decide today, you know what? Put myself on a budget, because I have been extending myself beyond my means, trying to keep up with everybody. Mm-hmm. And they say, well, girl, we're going to Cancun next week. And you're like, I don't really have Cancun money like that. You know what I'm saying? Yes, the Lord can make a way and provide, but I really need to be getting my finances. And I'm going to have to say no. And they're like, oh my God. And then you're feeling bad because you want to go. It's like, no, you have to set boundaries and say, you know what, right now, that's not in my best interest to do that. Right. And it's okay to make decisions that are in your best interest. Right. Because we've been spending our whole life making decisions that are in everybody else's best interest. People pleasing. Let's just talk about that, because we get so caught up, and then you don't even know how to get out of that, because you have this image that you want to uphold to everybody, that you've got it going on. Like Dexter said this to me one time. He was like, Tanya, I like the fact that you don't always just show everything that's good that's going on. Right. Like, that's back to the Jadori situation. I could have just kept that to myself, but life is about hills and valleys. Sometimes you're going to be on the mountaintop. Sometimes you might be in the valley low. But either place you're at, God is still there, because you can't go nowhere and hide from him. But I'm like, sometimes you have to show people that, no, it's not always about, look at my house, look at my car, look at this, that, and the other. Like, you have to show people that, you know, how to overcome adversity. Okay, how did you overcome it? That's the best example to say, okay, look, I made some mistakes. Right. Didn't always handle this the right way, fumbled the ball a lot of times, but there is a comeback. There is a bounce back after that. If you apply yourself, if you are teachable, if you're correctable, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times we just want to just keep this thing going just to show people. And it's like, no, just admit sometimes that, okay, I made a mistake, or
take some accountability.
Take accountability. Or, you know, right now life is not really good, but, you know, I'm still let you know that it'll be all right. The sun will eventually shine again. You think about, even if you're walking through a storm, you can either stay in the storm and just get soaking wet, or you can keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? You can keep riding through it to say, eventually the storm is going to end. Right. Eventually the sun will come out. I don't know any place, and maybe there is a place that rains all the time. I don't know, but I don't know many places that it just rains 24 hours a day, every single day. It just never stops. Right. Eventually there has to be a break in that. But sometimes we don't even get to the break. Bless you. Sometimes we don't even get to the break because we're just so focused on, bless you.
Sorry.
It's allergy season, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. But you have to understand that there will be rainy days sometimes. But there'll also be days when the sun comes out.
Right.
And it's okay to show people your rainy days sometimes, because then they can even celebrate you even more when the sun does come back out. Everybody, you're not always going to be down unless you choose to be that way. A lot of people choose just to stay in what they're in. You ever see people that's like, every time you turn around, it's like, woe is me. They're never happy. Yeah. They're never... Everything is complaining. Everything is a problem. Yeah. It's like, you need to sit down.
That's got to be a lot of energy to be depressed all the time.
It takes more energy for me to be mad and upset about something than it does to say, okay, I'm just going to look at the positive and what's the worst that can happen? Because What is it going to hurt you to think positive about a situation?
Nothing. I don't know why people's minds are so stubborn on thinking negative, you know? It's like they just will not have a positive thought, even though it's free. It don't even cost you nothing. Like, just try it out.
What is the thing they say that it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile? Like, some people just walk around just disgruntled. You like, darn, is life that bad? Because really, if you think about it, everybody got a story to tell if you got some time to listen. Everybody has been through something. Everybody has survived something. You know what I'm saying? Even most of the people that you see who are successful, who have made it, if they probably really sat down and told you their story, you might be like, nah.
I don't think I wanted that bad.
I don't want to go through that. Yeah. I don't want to go through that. And most people who God intends to use the most have the most troubling upbringings or troubling things that they have experienced, because that was even, I think, the enemy, he always enters in sometimes at a young age to try to crush you because he sees purpose in you. And he's like, nope, can't let her get that. I think about even, the sound of crickets. So if you haven't got the sound of crickets, go pick it up. It's not just about molestation. Yes, it does talk about molestation. But what I was really trying to portray is that from a young age, the enemy tried to enter in and snatch my innocence, to try to make me think different, to not trust people, not trust people who are closest to you, because especially when it happens from a family member, there needs to really be a whole form about molestation or sexual assault or things like that, because there are so many people. You probably could get a group of 10 people and probably 5, 6, 7 of those people,
say probably none of them, honestly,
have been touched inappropriately or sexually assaulted or molested,
or know someone who
know somebody who has, and nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody wants, to be quiet about it, or you think you're going to get in trouble if you say something. So then you learn how to keep secrets, and then you don't trust people, and then your whole childhood, where you should be, playing and enjoying freedom, you're worried and anxious. Right. I think about how worry and anxiousness entered in from a young age. Stop. And see that distraction right there?
Right. That was the devil.
Right.
Gigi, you letting the devil use you.
You letting the devil use you. Like, I'm trying to talk about something serious, and she's going squirrely over here.
That's the devil. I rebuke that. Pray over her.
I need to pray for her right now in the name of Jesus. But it tried to enter in from a young age and to expose me to things that I had no knowledge of. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was telling somebody, I'm like, from a young child, I remember just being fearful and anxious or worried or thinking I was going to get in trouble all the time. And it formed how I had relationships with other kids, not trusting anybody, even really like my parents or anybody, because I always thought, okay, people you trust and people you love will hurt you. And even how it shaped me is when I grew up into friendships, thinking, okay, what's your motive? You know what I'm saying? Even if somebody was nice to me, it was kind of like, okay, well, what is your motive though? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So then that made me a very guarded person, a very secretive person, because it was like, okay, you can't trust people. People will hurt you. But he tries to come in and take our innocence, even from a young child, or expose you to things that you shouldn't be exposed to, or, you experience trauma really early, because he's trying to put out your light at an early age. Right. So we all have stuff that we can unpack and stuff that we can talk about and share. Your trauma may be different from my trauma, may be different from that person's trauma, but it's all, pain is real to the person who is experiencing it. You know what I'm saying? Right. But we have to overcome those things, because if you stay that way, then it's going to affect your children, their children. It's going to affect how I parent. It's going to affect how I'm a wife. It's going to affect how I deal with life in general if I don't get those issues under control. And a lot of times we don't want to deal with the ugly, the nasty, the bad parts of us, because we don't want people to see a weakness in us, or we don't want people to see that I don't have it all together. You know what I'm saying? Or we have this thing that, okay, if I tell somebody, then it's going to make people look at me differently or something. And so to say, no, I went through that, I survived it. Whether you got to get some counseling for it, or talk about it, journal it. Journaling was a great thing for me. I love to, because if I keep thoughts up here, then they just kind of stay trapped. I had to write it out. I have to process it. And it was a journey. Like, even when I started the weight loss journey, it was in 22. I had to it was a whole process of me healing. It wasn't just about losing the weight. It was about, okay, you need to get healed. You need to work on you, because you have been suppressing some stuff from a little girl. Like, one of the chapters in my book is tell her it's okay. And I feel like when God was giving me that chapter, he was like, I used to go up under the table a lot as a little girl. That was like my hiding space until I became too big to fit up under the table. But it was like my protection zone. You know what I'm saying? I could just go away and be in my little space. But he was like, you got to go back and tell that little girl who was hiding under the table that it's okay. She can come out now. She can heal. And I was like, okay, wow, God. He was like, it's safe now. Because he was like, you can trust. I'll show you who to trust. I'll show you how far to let people in.
Right.
But first of all, I had to trust him. That's the thing. If the enemy, the bigger thing is for it to distort your trust in God, for you not to believe that God can make a way and that he can heal, because you put him in the same box that people were in, you know?
Yeah.
But you have to go back to your younger self and say, hey, I don't have to be that little afraid, scared little boy, or that little afraid, scared little girl. I can overcome challenges. I can be a better person. I don't have to be, who my daddy was or who my mama was. A lot of times our parents were going through traumas of their own that nobody helped them heal from. Like, when I thought about it and I was writing, it was like, when you think about, we come from a generation of a whole bunch of aunts and uncles and people who never healed. They just know how to survive. They know how to, like, okay, push it to the corner, keep it moving. Got to take care of these kids. Husband might have 15 kids on the other side of town.
Right.
And we make excuses and we just put those things to the side, and we grow up and we never deal with those issues or those things that we dealt with when we were kids, or the things that we were exposed to. And somebody needs to tell people that it's okay to not stay in that place, but to go back and say, okay, that affected me.
Right.
And I don't like the way it affected me. And I can see how those things, it made me have control issues growing up, because I wanted to be able to now control my environment, because things happened that were out of my control.
Right.
But it allowed me to have control issues, I think. So God had to heal me from those. So as you start unpacking and telling that little girl and that little boy that it's okay, then you have to unpack some things that you put in the suitcase that you don't want to deal with about you. Because God is not, you think, well, this person did that and this person did this. But what about what you did to yourself? What about the issues that you have that are not always pleasant? You have to go back and deal with those things as well. It's not always everybody else's fault. It's good to, we can point the blame at everybody else. My mama did this and my daddy did this and they didn't give me this and all of this stuff. But then there's things that you did to yourself or habits that you form to cope that are not always healthy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. So you have to go back sometimes and you have to revisit to say, okay, I'm not who I used to be. And that doesn't mean I would erase who I used to be, though. Because sometimes I'm like, well, I would just change it all. Like, no, I wouldn't.
It made you who you are.
It made you who you are. It made me have compassion for people who are hurting, compassion for people who are broken, compassion for those who are trying to find their way.
Yeah.
So people always think you might, they may not want to be around you because they think you're going to sit in a place of judgment. But really, you're like, no, it's compassion to say, okay, if God can do it for me, then surely he can do it for you. He doesn't love me any more than he loves you.
Right.
But it's a choice. Everything in life is about a choice, a decision that you have to make to want to change, to want to evolve, to want to be better. Right?
You're right. The choice is yours.
The choice is yours. You can get with this or you can get with that.
And Gigi is really letting the devil use her.
I know. She's really acting out, but it's okay. It's okay.
We're going to rebuke that.
Because we're going to still get out with it. So even when distractions come, don't let that stop you. I think about when I was at the hospital, the Lord was like, you don't get to, just because you're up here, if your mission is still to motivate and encourage people, then that's still your mission. Just because you're going through something doesn't mean you get a pass to say, well, I mean, you might get a little break, a little breathing room, but your assignment is still the same. You don't get to like take a break on your assignment because something happened to you. That means you would only serve God conditionally, like if the conditions were good.
Right.
So what happens when the conditions are bad that you just decide, well, I'm not going to do it now? I don't get to not be a mom because I'm having a bad day, right? I don't get a pass to say, well, today's mom's day off, and I'm not your mother today. Call me Tanya. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still have to be what my assignment and what my who I was called to be. You know what I'm saying? I don't get life is gonna happen. You know, sometimes things happen that, you know, people married and you get a divorce and you never thought I would get a divorce, or hey, you lose somebody and you thought that person was gonna be there longer than they were supposed to be, and you have to readjust in life. It's not always easy, but if you tap God in, we don't even put God in the game sometimes.
Right.
He's like sitting on the bench.
The last time we don't even ask him.
We don't ask him.
Let me just figure it out.
He's
let
like,
me just figure it out. Not let God
it's
figure
like
it out.
He's the sixth man off the bench. And he really should be a starter.
Right.
That's great. I need to talk about that a little bit.
Get that tatted.
Right. He needs to start.
I can see Jesus sitting on the bench, like just waiting, like, hey, put me in.
With his sandals on and stuff. Like, you think because he's got sandals on, so you think because he's got sandals on that he doesn't know how to play or something. Like, we just, like, again, it goes back to...
He invented the game.
Right, he invented the game. So you don't want him to be a part of something that he created. Like, he created the whole world, so he definitely can solve whatever you got going on. But
right,
you know, if we can just leave you guys, you know, we're not trying to ramble on and we just kind of like flow when we are up here. But it's like, it's so much stuff going on in the world.
Oh, to the point that you could be overwhelmed if you're not careful.
You can be overwhelmed, because some days I'm just like, you know what, let me just get off all social media. I don't even need to, you know, there was a day and a time where I would tell, you know, people social media can be a gift and a curse, because there was a time, like, you know, you think about, you get out of school for the summer and you don't get to see your friends till you come back to school, and you don't know what they did over the summer.
Right.
You know, but now I know that Jennifer went to Rome and she ate pizza and she woke up.
Alex's dad died.
Right. You know so much.
Samantha got shot. Like, it's a lot. We know too much about each other.
It's like information overload, and it can be overwhelming sometimes. And there's just so much going on in the world that we can see and that we have, you know, access to, that it can affect your mental health. It can affect your day-to-day because you're overwhelmed. I mean, it could even affect how you feel like you have to, you know, we was talking about comparing people, you know, it's just too much sometimes. And I just think we all need a dose of positivity here and there to kind of keep you grounded, because if you just focus on all the negative stuff, it will just overwhelm you. But also to realize that, you know, whatever your belief system, like I have my belief system, other people may have theirs, but I just know that Jesus is coming back soon. Like, if you look at all of the stuff that's going on, and people are so preoccupied with stuff and things that I just don't feel like they
are
you
just at the club right now, and Jesus is literally coming back.
Right.
Like, we don't even know when he's coming back, but we can feel that it's got to be soon.
It's got to be, because this world is going to destroy itself.
Pumping it up.
Right.
And Jesus is down the street. And you're just hanging out, not doing nothing to get yourself prepared. And if you have TikTok, the signs are there. The trumpet has been blown. The whistle's blown. He's coming, and nobody's paying attention to it. It's all just...
This world is just so evil.
It's all just games.
It's so evil. There's so much
Y'all
hatred.
worried about Diddy.
Right.
And nobody's worried about Jesus.
We don't have a heaven or hell to put Diddy in, so I'm not focused on what he's got going on.
Now, wouldn't it be crazy if Diddy repent for his sins and make it to heaven, and you out fist pumping talking about Diddy and you go straight to hell?
Exactly.
What are the odds of that?
Right. So you keep worrying about somebody else. Stuff. You better be, what's that thing? Sweep around your own front door before you try to sweep around mine. Like, you better get your house in order.
Yeah.
Like, get your house in order.
Tell your friends.
Yeah. Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Right, because it's happening.
Yeah, work on you. Work on being a good person, because I saw somebody that made a post the other day. They were like, eternity. And think about it, Miss Shannon. She put up something like, eternity is too long to be wrong. And it really is.
No. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I cannot imagine. We can't even think about what eternity is. Like, we don't even know.
This is only but a day.
Like.
We're still in one day with God. You know what I'm saying? If they like a day is but 1,000 years with God, then we're still in one day with God.
And if this is one day in hell, that is way too long for me.
That's a long time.
I'm not doing it for nobody.
It's a very long day. You're talking about having a bad day. It's a very long day. And if you don't believe this way, hey.
Let it go over.
Let it go over your head. Keep strolling. You don't have to subscribe to this channel or these views. Nobody's forcing it down your throat.
Right.
But for those who do, like, you got to start getting ready, getting
Get your affairs
prepared.
in order.
Get your affairs in
everybody.
order. Like, stop treating people. Stop being a mean, nasty person.
Yeah.
Like, that is not godly for you to treat people wrong, or you always trying to get somebody back, or you always being a
Right.
busybody, or you always spreading gossip, or you always, attention seeking because you want everybody to be focused on you. Like, people
Right.
are worried about how big their butt is and posing every picture to show their butt. You know what I'm saying? When you should be worrying about what does your heart look like? Nobody wants to care about what your butt looks like. What does your freaking heart look like? Your heart is nasty.
It's right, and I can
It's all
smell it on your breath.
And even the attention that you're seeking, you need to be seeking that attention and love, because nobody can love you like God can.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're up here spreading your cheeks and wanting everybody to see it, okay, they only want you for one thing or one, you know what I'm saying? They want you because this, that, and the third.
It's not your love of God.
Exactly. And after they get what they get and what they want, then they're off to the next thing, to the next person who's got a bigger one than you have. So it's like, what does your heart look like? Because the thing about it is, what you're really looking for is love. And God said, I can love you like nobody else. Or I can send the person that's going to love you properly. But you are trying to have a buffet of people who keep running in and out of your heart. And it's leaving their footprints all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Now there's an ice box where your heart used to be.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So anyway, get yourself together. Quickly. Start loving on you. Start letting God love on you properly. Heal those areas that you don't want anybody to know, don't want anybody to touch. Like, get your affairs together and just be a good person. So I hope you guys gained something from today's, talks with Tanya, this little wisdom. We just wanted to share, come on, because like I said, we hadn't been on here in a while, and this is therapy for us. So thank you guys for being.
We definitely missed y'all while we were gone.
Yes, definitely.
We won't do that again.
Exactly. We'll try to, but understand, if you don't see us, it's not because that's our purpose, unless God told us not to be here. Sometimes stuff happens, but we didn't want that to distract us from the assignment, which was spreading positivity. And the fact that he doesn't want us to do these things means we're going to keep on doing it.
Right.
Like, and sometimes you just got to tell the devil, like, you mess with the wrong person.
Right.
And that means you got to do it even harder. You got to go hard for yourself. Go hard for God in this season and let him love on you, direct you, and guide you. So with that being said, we thank you for tuning in. I pray that God covers you. I pray that he keeps you. I pray that he gives you wisdom to do the right things, wisdom, direction, guidance. And I pray that you allow him in your heart in those places that have been untouched for a while, and let him heal you from everything that hurts you. Have a wonderful day on purpose.